So the second path toward the development from the textbook is the international trade path. In this regard, we have two different models. The first model is East Asia model. This kind of model is export labor-intensive products or pollution-prone products at early stages. So when the country is very poor, they do not have any other opportunities. All they have are the cheap labor. Therefore, they just try to attract investment from Western countries in labor-intensive industry or attract industries that can generate a lot of environmental problems, and therefore they develop these industries in their country and sell the product from those industries to world market. Later on, when they earn more income, when they also gather more resources to invest, they begin to switch to technology innovation intensive industries at a later stage, and or even develop high tech industry. South Korea is one such important example. During the early days of South Korean economic development, definitely they export all kinds of labor-intensive product to Western countries. Later on, they begin to develop high-tech industries. So today, South Korea sell a lot of cars and high-tech cell phones and electronic product in the U.S. market. So has become a very successful country that has generated higher income within a couple of generations. Okay, so that is the World Bank labeled these countries as the East Asia miracle. Not just South Korea, you also have Singapore, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. These are the countries that are collectively called kind of East Asian tigers, and they are labeled as their economic success was hailed as East Asia miracle by the World Bank. Look at this slide. This slide shows that you have a number of developing countries. Four of them are so-called Asian four little tigers: Taiwan, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Singapore. During the early 1980s, these four countries are almost at the same income level as Chile, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, so on and so forth. But throughout the entire 1980s through 1990s, it comes to millennium, you can really see that the per capita income of these four countries jump out of the crowd and come way, way above other developing countries. And so they become a group of their own. So that's why we call them the East Asia economic miracles. So their example demonstrate how what you can do with this international trade strategy toward development that could become very successful in promoting economic development. So this is one very good example of the success of international trade approach toward development. Then you have another international trade development strategy that we call resource commodities model. These are the group of countries that concentrate on exporting energies, minerals, and agricultural products to the world market. So specific countries involve the Middle Eastern countries, Latin American countries, African countries, and also today Russia. You can really see on this slide that some countries have a very high concentration of one or two products in the entire export of the country. So these probably sell just one or two major products to the world market as a major source of income. The problem with this kind of strategy is that this kind of economy very subject to the price situation and change in a global economy. So they do not have enough economic diversity, as soon as the economy slow down in the world market, and people start buying those primary goods, and therefore those countries will suffer from the slow growth. Okay, so this is a slide that shows the income earnings by Russia's oil industry. When the price of oil become really high, they can earn a lot of income. That's what guarantee their national health care, national education system. But as soon as the price of oil crash, the income level of the country suffered tremendously. We know currently there's a crude oil price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia. Both countries are in a competition to try to lower the price of oil, and so that they can garner larger market share. The consequences is that the income for the oil industry for both countries will crash. So that will not be able to support, will not sustain this kind of national health care, national education system very well. So in this context, we can talk a little bit about World Trade Organization. This is an international organization that promotes trade as part of a development strategy between the 1950s and 1990s. They used to be called the International Global, used to be called the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. And in 1995, it changed to World Trade Organization. So for a long period of time, this organization did very well, especially since the 1950s, and was able to lower the tax barrier and trade barrier among member countries. But since 1995, many more countries joined this organization. So today, there's over 200 members in this World Trade Organization. Therefore, the new negotiation had to be negotiated among these over 200 countries. That caused new problem. When you only have a few dozen of countries as a member within the organization, it is easier to achieve any agreement, especially when this organization was dominated by the Western developed countries. But since 1995, when you have over 200 countries become the member of the organization, most of them are developing countries. Countries have very different economic interests, and the dominance of Western countries has become declined. Therefore, this organization have a very big trouble to achieve any kind of agreement, to achieve any kind of a consensus in the negotiations. That's why since the 1997s, there has been very little progress in achieving new trade deal within member countries of World Trade Organization. And that is a major problem of this organization. As a response, let's first move on to this slide. As a response, many countries begin to look at the regional level what they can do if the entire World Trade Organization involves too many member countries that are very difficult for them to achieve any consensus for any trade agreement. At least member countries can do at the regional level. So they begin to do some regional trade agreement negotiations, the bloc trade agreement, so that they can, that involve a smaller number of countries, probably it's easier to achieve any kind of agreement. So this slide shows the increase in the number of regional free trade agreement that as a response to the little program that had been achieved at the international level. Okay. Now this slide that we have skipped early on shows that prior to the 1990s, when the self-sufficiency approach seemed to be the major dominant trend among some developing countries, you can see the growth rates, the change seems to be ups and down. You don't see a clear increase. What you see is a big fluctuation. You see ups and downs very frequently. But since the 1990s, when the whole world entered the global economy, when the international trade approach seemed to be widely recognized as a better approach toward development, the entire global economy, the global income level seem to be have this trend of going up and less fluctuation. So that's why people believe that the international trade approach seems to be a better approach than self-sufficiency approach toward economic development. So in this context, we can also mention a little bit about foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment refers to business investment by multinational corporations in foreign countries. One of the ultimate purpose of foreign direct investment is to expand trade market by selling products from the host countries. For example, Japan, in order to sell more cars to the U.S. market, Japan set up a lot of Japanese-owned manufacturing facilities in the U.S. to make cars, and now they can sell cars directly from the U.S. Factory to the U.S. market. So the ultimate goal of foreign direct investment is still to expand the export market. That's why we can see that the foreign direct investment as part of a strategy to promote international trade. Now you directly set up factories in foreign countries, you directly sell your product from your factory in foreign countries to the foreign market.